I think you're a man of the law, and I really want to congratulate the president to pick you. Quite frankly, I was worried about who he'd pick. Maybe somebody on TV. But President Trump could not have done better in choosing you. And I hope people on the other side will understand that you may not like him. I certainly didn't agree with President Obama. But I understood why he picked Sotomayor and Kagan. And I hope you can understand why President Trump picked Neil Gorsuch. I hope you'll be happy with that, because I am.
Now, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham praising the president, who on the campaign trail gave out Graham's phone number and told his supporters to try it, for picking a Supreme Court nominee that makes him happy. Joining me now, Hannah Smith, senior counsel for the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty and former clerk for Justice Clarence Thomas and Justice Samuel Alito, and Jeffrey Rosen, president and CEO of the National Constitution Center. And let me begin with you, Hannah. That, to me, summed up the entirety of what I've seen from conservatives, which is this kind of Faustian bargain. Okay, we have a president who launches racist attacks against federal judges because their ethnicity makes them incapable of judging him, and attacks a federal judge who rules against his executive order. But we got our guy in Neil Gorsuch. Is that a fair characterization?
I think it is a fair characterization. And actually, I think that, people are very pleased with the pick that he made in Judge Gorsuch. And, Judge Gorsuch is a guy who's applied the law fairly to protect the religious liberty of people of all faiths, including Muslims, Native Americans, and Jews.
But is there anything the president could do that would make the bargain not worth it? Is there a morning you're going to wake up where some unbelievably sort of odious travesty of justice has occurred, in which the president has Andrew Jackson and steamrolled over the Supreme Court? We think, well, we got our Supreme Court justice, but a lot of good it did us.
I think that Judge Gorsuch is going to be an amazing associate justice on the Supreme Court.
That is not a responsive answer.
I think
that is not a responsive answer.
I think that he has a remarkable record on the 10th Circuit of building consensus and having coalitions. And he has a unanimous record when he has written a religious liberty decision for the 10th Circuit. 100%. Okay, 100%. No one has dissented from any religious liberty decision.
I'm going to go meta here for a second. You're a remarkable example of the effectiveness of McConnell's strategy. The McConnell strategy was, we are going to deny a hearing for Merrick Garland in an unprecedented fashion. And then we will use the vacancy as an inducement to get people in line behind Donald Trump, who they might find personally odious. But particularly for institutional conservatives, people that clerked on the Supreme Court, people that emerged from the kind of like high-powered legal circles, that was an incredibly persuasive argument. And you can see the quid pro quo, the reward, is being paid off in Gorsuch.
It is. People like my beloved brother-in-law, Neil Katyal, the former acting Solicitor General, introduced Judge Gorsuch and concluded the same thing. We really can't believe what happened to Merrick Garland. This is just a disaster. But if he had to pick someone, I'm glad it's Gorsuch. And the main thing with Gorsuch is Neil Katyal and I are confident that he would check Trump if push came to shove. That's the main thing.
Right, so this has become this sort of question about his independence. Can I express my frustration with the way that the judicial theory of originalism is communicated in these settings? Basically, you end up with a sort of simplifying version of the Constitution. You hear, well, it's my job to apply the law. I just apply the law. I'm a humble umpire. That's, of course, the John Roberts metaphor. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, if it's so clear, if it's so crystal clear what the law is to apply, why do you need all your fancy degrees? Why do you have to go to all these fancy law schools? Why does everyone have to be so credentialed and be, editor of the law review if it's so clear what the law is? The point is that it's not clear. The point is that's actually difficult, right? Do you agree, having clerked on the court, it's hard? These are hard cases?
There are very hard cases that come before the Supreme Court, and there's no easy answers.
Right, and do you watch a hearing like that in which they say, well, I just apply the law, as if that sentence embodies the fullness of what you do, a preposterously reductive conception of what a judge does?
Well, to be fair, though, I think what he's really saying is, look, Congress, it's your job to make the laws. It's my job to interpret them. And if you pass a law, then I'm bound to follow the law as you passed it. So take your job seriously, Congress, because I have to apply it.
Right, but that's exactly the thing I'm talking about, which is there's an entire corpus of interpretation. And in fact, what the law means is precisely what it's at issue. It seems to me you end up in this unbelievably question-begging place when you make that argument.
But you know what's great about these hearings? Judge Gorsuch said it's not simple. Senator Klobuchar was trying to say yes or no.
He did talk, right, yes.
Yes, and he said it's complicated. And he said, look at the global positioning system case. Look at the cell phone cases. We do have to translate the Fourth Amendment in light of new technologies. We have to ask what the framers thought about. Even Elena Kagan, all liberals agree, but then you have to take account of changes so you protect the same amount of privacy in the 21st century as the framers took for granted in the 18th. That's a kind of living originalism embodied by my hero, Justice Louis Brandeis. And it's beautiful to see Judge Gorsuch be a neo-Brandeisian and actually embrace the idea of constitutional translation.
What do you think? It strikes me that he is benefiting from a number of things right now politically. One, I think he's fairly charming in these personal settings. Two, he is credentialed in precisely the way that people in the legal elite like their candidates for the Supreme Court to be credentialed. And three is that there's so much going on in the background, and there's a sort of limited capital for political fights. You can almost sense Democrats not sinking their political capital into this fight.
That's true, but these are substantive questions. So I thought Klobuchar, Coons, Franken, all of them were really pressing him on precisely the questions you're talking about. What about the areas where Justice Scalia betrayed his originalism?
Right.
Do you accept these cases? And then Gorsuch countered with cases where Scalia's political and constitutional views diverged. This is not kabuki theater. Let's all go back and read the transcripts, viewers, and actually educate ourselves about this constitutional seminar that's unfolding. I think the Democrats are giving him tough questions. He's giving back as good as he can, but we're really seeing the difference in constitutional interpretation.
A justification of the good faith of the enterprise, which is something you rarely hear Hannah Smith and Jeffrey Rosen think.